Now, coming off of that, everyone always talks about whether or not guys are going to like hit their big sophomore slump. I think there's also a lot of guys that warrant discussion around whether they're going to get a sophomore bump. Like Gawk Comfortable going to take a way bigger step and show what they didn't do the previous year. And there's some that just are who they've proven they are. But I don't know, for you, like who are the guys you're looking at most for last year's Calder class that you think could take big jumps or maybe not do what people expect?
So I'm going to stick with Minnesota here.
Okay.
For both of these players, I still think that there is a pretty good chance Marco Rossi takes another step. The fact that he put up 21 goals last year while fluctuating between top 6 or third line, wherever he was, then like the goals that he scored should be like fairly replicable. And like he's going to get probably, I mean, we've talked about this before, like they're probably going to give both Hartman and Rossi looks in the same spots. Like the idea of like the Trenton, Foligno, Hartman third line is just raw chaos and just insane and very fun. And then Rossi showed that he can pretty much play with anyone. So you know that that's going to be happening at the beginning of the year. Like he's going to still get good looks, and like his off season, I don't know what he was up to, but he looked fucking ripped. Like he looks like a beast right now. But the one that I'm really curious about is like, how does a guy like Brock Faber get even better? Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't think anyone was expecting to put up 40 points last year.
Everyone's going to be mad.
Necessarily know if he's going to do that again, but I don't like. At the same time, how do you? I think. Not that I'm doubting it. It's just more like, what does a step forward look like for Brock Faber? Because do I think he's going to put up 50 points? No. Do I think his defense is going to drop off at all? Nope. So it's like, I would expect him to get either just do what he did or you get even better defensively, but I don't necessarily think that he's got a good chance of like replicating as much offense or more offense, I should say. So like if he has like 28, 30 points this year, but he's still playing 26, 27, 28 minutes a night, which feels pretty likely. Are people going to necessarily consider that to be like stagnant or taking a step back? Like, I don't think so, but it's just like, my big question is like, what does, if he's going to get, if he improves in every area of the game, like, that's crazy. Like if he doesn't go like 55 points, playing 29 minutes a night, and like first PK, first power, like that would be bananas. And I don't know how likely that is. So I guess my big question is like, what does like a step forward actually look like for Brock Faber? Because like he pretty much surpassed every expectation that we had. Like we were all waiting for that like 4, 5, 6 game, I guess, slump or whatever, but it never happened ever, even when they were not good. Like he still was just like the same player or like got better throughout the year. So I guess I just kind of wonder what a sophomore slump versus like what a big step forward looks like for Brock Faber. Because like, again, I don't like if he puts up 25 points but is still playing like solid shutdown D 28 minutes a night, like I think that's fine. Like I think that's great. Like hopefully that means like Declan Chisholm's your PP1 quarterback. Like and he's playing well. Doesn't look like it, but we'll see. I guess so that's where I land on that.
Yeah, fans are going to gauge it off of points, of course, but no, I'm with you. If he's playing 25, 26 minutes plus and he's largely not getting scored on, I literally don't give a shit about anything else. That is your job. Like, sure, if he throws in some points, that's awesome. He could literally score 0 points and it would be hilarious, but also like it's irrelevant for me in my analysis. Now, can that take him up another couple of notches? Yeah, for sure. But his points are of no consequence to me unless he's playing power play 1 and it's not working, right? Like, that's the only time that I'd look and be like, all right, dude, you should probably be scoring some points. But no, I could not care less about that. And yeah, Marco Rossi, Cosgrove weighs in, only 6 out of his 40 points on the power play for Rossi last year. So, like, I think him, like, if he can have a 25-25-ish year, like, thrilled. I would be very, very excited about that. And I'm weirdly coming around to, I'd love to see him on the first line, but I actually think if all the lines are firing, like, Hartman on the first line makes more sense. Like, he gives you a piece of shit element up there, and we know he can finish. Like, we know he can score goals. I think Marco Rossi playing on the third line isn't the worst thing either. Like, he's basically your, like, skill facilitator down there. Trennan can score goals. And if Marco Rossi can play his setup role like he did back, in the glorious OHL days of his draft year, he could do that with Trennan. It doesn't have to be with the top tier guys. And I think that's just going to go far enough to show, like, okay, yeah, maybe I do need to be in a top 6 type role. I'm not as upset as I thought I'd be about him starting on the third line with Foligno and Trennan. I think it could actually be really fun, on top of the fourth line being quite fun too, but we'll talk about that more when we get into the Wild a little bit. The ones I want to talk about, 2 in particular, and if you want to get into any others, we certainly can. First, we'll do your son, Leo Carlsson. What do we expect this year?
I keep going.
He plays every game.
That's what I mean. Like, I keep going back and forth on this too, where I'm like, I really don't believe in the Anaheim Ducks whatsoever, like, at all, to take any kind of step forward, to be honest with you. Like, they're such a weird fucking hockey team. But assuming if he gets regular playing time, I do still expect him to take a step forward. And I think he should, I mean, just looking at that fucking roster, like, he should absolutely be playing every game as long as he's healthy. So, and he's that good where he impacts all 3 zones. He can defend, he can score. Like, he is an awesome all-around hockey player. So I still expect him to take a step forward. But God, the Anaheim Ducks, like, still a tough watch. And, like, best case is every single one of their young players all take a huge step forward, and then they can compete. Like,
well, that's obviously best case, but, like, I don't think that it literally has to be everyone taking a step for them to improve.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for them to get worse, I guess, but
it is.
Yeah, they
although they're going to trade Cam Fowler, so
yeah. But the thing with Leo Carlsson is I don't think, like, whether or not he succeeds is, like, related to his line mates. I think it's just letting him play. Like, he is that good. Like, he is just you can build a line around Leo Carlsson. So I still expect him to take a step forward, assuming he plays every game and stays healthy, obviously.
Yeah, fair. All right. Then talk about my boy. What can we expect out in the middle of Mormon Valley from Logan Cooley?
I think we talked about it last week. I do expect him to really, I guess depends on your definition of pop off, but he's going to play every game. Obviously he's going to be one of their go-to guys, and they've drastically improved that lineup up and down. So I expect him to definitely take a huge step forward. And I mean, he's looked incredible in the preseason. Again, preseason is what it is, but that's all we have to gauge this new hockey team off of. And then you combine that with just, like, every home game there is going to be bananas.
Well, what about their first ever goal, Z? We gonna talk about that?
Yeah, the own goal.
What a
I talked about it last week.
Yeah.
I talked about it last week. I was like, yeah, it was the best.
Fun.
That was the best goal ever. Like, it's the best first goal of all time. The own fucking goal. It's my favorite. I love it. No, but I think he's gonna have a solid year. You're hoping for 20, like a 20, 30, probably, maybe even more. I'm curious to see what line he actually ends up on, who his line mates are, because I also think Dylan Guenther is going to be a problem. Like that kid can fucking play. My God. The idea of them playing together in my head is very fun.
Yeah. Cooley Gunther would be cool. I don't know. Anyone else you want to talk about that was a rookie last year, or do we just move on and wrap on wild stuff? Or not weird stuff.
Well, so 2 guys that I've also got my eye on this year. First, I'll stay local out here in Boston, Matty Patra. So he looked really good until he got hurt last year, and obviously like pretty much missed the rest of the season. He's gonna be relied on that middle-ish 6. Their center depth is weird, but assuming he's that 2C for them and they have Zach on the wing still.
Do you think he's
just like not having Pavel Zacha?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, we're way off based on your delay there. So do you think that he is above Coyle in the depth chart? Because I think Zacha's gonna be at the wing. I think that's kind of sad, but who would you want as your 2C between Patra and Coyle?
Yeah, now that I think about it too, like Coyle was fucking unbelievable last year. So if that's their 2C, that's fine, I guess. But either way, like it's gonna be a different. So like historically, the third line for Boston's always just been like the classic third line where it's like pretty much heavily leaned on for like in their own end and maybe like a touch of offense, aka like Charlie Coyle. But Charlie Coyle like legitimately like popped off last year in all 3 zones and was leaned on heavily for like offense too. But at this point, when like the way that they've kind of, there's still going to be a team that predicates itself on like the 2-way game, but like the third line is going to have some offensive pop to it. So I think Matty Patra, the fact that he stayed healthy, or if he stays healthy, he's going to get power play time. He's going to be leaned on to score in that middle 6 there. And even if they shift him out to the wing here and there, like he might end up in that top 6 depending on injuries and stuff. So I still think there should be a pretty good path to him, like again, assuming health, to really have another solid outing here in his sophomore season. Because like the more like, I guess I keep like not liking how positive I feel about the Boston Bruins. But then this way, but they happen. I was like, all right, I feel good about being back down a level. I really like having a little bit of pessimism in my brain going in here. But in Boston, again, assuming he stays healthy, Matty Patra like is definitely one that I'll be watching closely, obviously. But then staying in the Atlantic, all depends on where he ends up in that lineup. But Matty Knies is fascinating to me because there's a lot of talk about him on that first line with Austin Matthews again. And he looked fucking good in the playoffs, dude.
He is good.
Like he looked good. He is a good fucking hockey player and kind of like what Toronto fans have like just like wanted in their top 6 for so long, where he's like this big beast that like has ridiculous skills and can score, but like is also just like an animal. So if he does end up playing with Austin Matthews on that first line all year long, that'll be very interesting to watch. But I think just given they're doing the same shit where they bring in a million fucking players, he could still find himself like getting lost in the shuffle, like in that middle 6 where they're like, we don't really know what our third line is anymore. Like we're just gonna have like 3 guys that we put on the third line. They might play 12 minutes a game, maybe. Like, okay, but if you're gonna do that to a kid like Matty Knies, if that's where he finds himself in that lineup. Like I mean, he was on their 4th line, and like fans were getting mad that he wasn't scoring. I was like, dude, he plays 6 minutes a night. Like, what do you want him to do? His line mate's Ryan Reeves. Like, I don't know what you want him to do. But if he does end up in that top 6, or is he playing with Austin Matthews, like Matty Knies could be a problem.
And Cosgrove beat me to it, but Knies and Matthews are going to be great for the new Arizona expansion team. Can you imagine how awesome would it be if we go back to the OG days where they actually let Mario Lemieux own a team? What if Matthews just came in and put together like a bid group and he owned the expansion franchise in Arizona? That'd be pretty awesome.
It seems likely. I like the odds. So, or he's going to become dean of Arizona State. It's going to be fine. because they're gonna be good this year, which is I love that. God, that place is gonna be insane. Again, we talked about it last week. Arizona State's gonna have every year the biggest incoming freshman class and graduate like 3 guys every fucking year. They all get thrown out.
Yeah. Fair.
Oh god.